I want to show you two different approaches to the overall architecture with Service Bus Relay. The first is the architecture as it manifests in any kind of design and architecture that you would create for your own application system. And the second is internally what actually happens within the service bus as this is happening, as this is going on. So let's take a look at the overall architecture again, kind of from the app development perspective. All right, so from the app development perspective, you're going to have some service application. And again, this could be, the one I typically use is maybe I've got a service that serves up product information based on different types of requests. Right? Now, what's going to happen is the service application actually establishes a connection to the service bus relay. Right? And then the client applications, and this could be a web application, this could be a mobile application. Right? I could have a mobile application set up, and that would be another great use for this. I've got this service, I'm supporting my sales staff as they go around. They need to be able to quickly pull up the most recent product information, right? But I want to keep my system as protected as possible, and then I could use the relay to do that. Anyways, so the client is going to go and connect up to the service bus relay, right? And then in both cases, that can be a bidirectional communication. Now, really, and I'm trying to draw dotted lines and I'm terrible at that. Okay, so really what you're doing is you're establishing communication indirectly between the service application and your clients. Architecturally, right, from the way that I'm building the clients, aside from the fact that the client's going through the service bus relay instead of going directly to the service, right, it's still going to work the same way from the client's perspective. Okay, they're connecting to a service as far as they're concerned. Now that's the way it works architecturally, if you will, for you. Let's take a look at how that's actually implemented in a fairly simple example of the communication that would be required to facilitate this. Okay, this is the service bus relay architecture really as it is internally in Azure. Okay, and as far as Azure is concerned, as far as the service bus relay is concerned, one of the things that's kind of interesting is that everything is a client. Okay, so even what you consider a service is a client to the service bus relay, right? And in fact, the entire process would start by your service engaging a listening request to the service bus relay. That's going to go into a gateway machine. Okay, the gateway machine has a gateway store, and I should say gateway service, but the gateway service has a gateway store where it's going to say, okay, this client has initiated a listening request. So this client, again, that would be your service. That's a terrible, sorry, best I can do. But that's your service, and it acts as a client to the gateway, right? Now, you may have multiple gateways, but once you establish that listening connection is going to go and be associated with that gateway. Right? And so then you get an actual client, right? And this, again, it could be a mobile device, it could be a web app, it could be partner application or whatever. The client sends a connection request. Now, that connection request may go to a different gateway. The different gateway would then have to look up the gateway store and forward that to the actual gateway, right? Now, this other gateway cannot go and connect directly. Right, we'll put that in blue, right? This gateway could not initially go out and just connect to your service because remember, this is a kind of, if you will, a push system from the service side, right? Because otherwise, if I was going to allow a gateway to connect directly to the service, I would have to have a firewall hole for that, and this whole architecture avoids that, all right? So I'm going to take all my scribblings off there, all right? And we're at this point where, okay, so we've established the request, the listening request, and then that creates the relay record, right? And then a connection request comes in from a client to a different gateway. The different gateway figures out where the relay actually is, and then because that's coming from this gateway, which already has a session established with the client/service. So we'll write that back in, and I'm not changing back colors at this point. All right, so service connects, gets a listening request, gets a relay. That relay is associated with a specific gateway. Another request comes in, may come to a different gateway, looks up where that listening connection is set up and sends a request, right? And then, and I love this, you get a rendezvous request that gets sent through the existing connection from the existing gateway to the client/service. Once that's good, then the client says, okay, I need to establish a connection. Again, the client here, being the service, has to establish another connection to this other gateway, but it's a temporary connection, right? It does that, and then once that connection is established, the client can send its original message, which then gets sent to the actual service. So again, taking all of this off, what's the key here? Architecturally, from your standpoint, you're seeing this, right? Very easy to understand. You've got your service application up here. You've got client applications down here that need to communicate with it. They're going through the service bus relay. Very simple. Internally, all this complicated messaging is how that's being handled. The cool thing is, particularly if you're using, for example, Windows Communication Foundation, this is going to be very minimal modification from having a direct client to service communication.